last full Saturday of the regular season in college football, man, it gets kicked off with Ohio State at Michigan. 12 o'clock Eastern time on Fox. The 121st edition of just the game. That's all you got to call it. It's just the game. We all know what it is. It's the Ohio State Buckeyes, ranked number 1 in the nation. They are unblemished, 11-0 record. They head to Ann Arbor to try to exercise some ghost of 4 consecutive defeats to the Wolverines. Now, the narrative arc of this matchup is heavily defined by the immense pressure on Ryan Day and the need to get a win against Michigan. While you look at the 11-0 start, tons of NFL talent, there's always that shadow of the Michigan Wolverines defeats that looms large over the program. They haven't beaten Michigan since 2019. So the Michigan Wolverines, if they can win this game, they might need a little help to get to the Big Ten championship, but the opportunity to potentially get in as an at-large playoff team remains very real in victory in this matchup. So just a lot of great storylines surrounding this game. I hope you're as excited as I am. Question number 1. Are there any limitations with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate? Now, these guys are incredible at wide receiver, and they are universally recognized as the top wide receiver tandem in the country. They are crucial components to this Buckeye passing attack. Those two guys combine to account for well over 50% of the team's total receiving production. And both players were held out against Rutgers. And Coach Ryan Day has characterized their injuries as kind of day-to-day at this point. Carnell Tate's been out for a little bit longer, but one would assume that Jeremiah Smith's going to be back, and one would hope that Carnell Tate would be back. But the impact of their absence was kind of evident in the Rutgers game, because Julian Sayin, who's incredible from a completion percentage, did see his production curtailed just a hair, went for under 160. The completion rate dropped significantly based on his season-long averages. So the absence of a vertical passing threat, does the Ohio State offense pivot like they had to do last week to a powerful rushing attack? Potentially. They went for over 250 on the game against Rutgers, and that significantly exceeded what they've done up to this point of the season, where they averaged just over 160 a game. So we know they can. So the big thing is kind of knowing where those two wide receivers are at. It would help you better understand what type of Ohio State offense you're going to get and how Michigan's defense will have to structure to account for those two guys' presence. So the presence and or absence of Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate dictates the primary strategic mismatch that Ohio State can leverage. If both are healthy and can play, then the offense is super dynamic, vertical, one that we've all seen 100 times. But if for whatever reason they're at less than 100%, then Michigan can adjust and maybe commit a little bit more to the line of scrimmage, commit a little bit more to trying to stop the run, because the threat of the downfield throw is not as significant if those two guys are at less than 100%. Question number 2, can Michigan's offense control the line of scrimmage and the pace? Now, Michigan's offensive strategy is always going to center around the ground game, right? They are second in the Big Ten right now in rushing per game, nearly 225 a game on the ground, over 5.5 per carry. So we know that they have kind of built their identity to beat the Buckeyes, to emphasize physicality. And that's kind of what people have pointed to the last couple of years by saying, well, Michigan, they are built to beat the Buckeyes, and their success relies on leveraging an offensive line that is rugged and physical to sustain drives and to control the clock. But this is a pretty significant obstacle when you take into account what Ohio State has become on the defensive line. They are one of the best front fours in the country, and this battle will determine the pace of the game. If Michigan can successfully establish the run, average over 4 yards a carry, then they will definitely achieve their objective by maximizing time of possession and limiting the total number of offensive possessions that Ohio State's high-powered attack would utilize. That's how they've won the last couple years. But if the run game is contained, if the run game stalls, and the offense is in third and long situations, then that scenario forces Bryce Underwood to try to throw it against a really opportunistic Ohio State secondary and a defense that is elite on third down. So running the ball and controlling the pace, controlling the clock for Michigan is of the utmost importance. Question 3, can Michigan's pass rush impact Julian Sand? Now, Julian Sand has been phenomenal this year, and he has operated this offense with a surgical efficiency that I could have never anticipated with his first year as a starter. I mean, he is next level compared to what was expected. Some of the throws he executes, the holes and the windows that he's able to exploit with his accuracy, it's ridiculous. That's why he's one of the best in the country from a touchdown interception ratio. That's why he leads the country in completion percentage. He's not been asked to manage the game as much as he's been asked to just elevate the offense through elite processing speed and next level accuracy. Now, he can manage the game. He does a great job of that. And when that's all that's needed, that's all he'll do, just like last week. But if he needs to elevate, he's shown that he can. And he has demonstrated poise throughout the entire season. But Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator from Michigan, he's known for bringing exotic blitz packages. He's known to confuse young quarterbacks. And while Sand's been amazing this year, this will be by far, I think, his biggest test that he's seen so far, when he actually might have to shoulder the burden of creating some offensive production. Now, Michigan has 28 sacks this year, pretty good. They're in the top 25. And Ohio State's offensive line has been great. They've given up very little pressure. This will be against some of the best defensive linemen they've faced. And they've seen some great ones already. They've seen Texas. They've seen Penn State. They gave up 0 sacks in those games. So I think Ohio State's offensive line will be up to the task. I think they'll handle business against a really good defense. Question number 4, will Michigan be able to manufacture some explosives? Now, without Justice Haynes, who has been amazing in transferring up from Alabama, averaging over 7.5 a carry, over 850, didn't play the entire season, been sidelined for the rest of the regular season. And the Wolverines, they do have great depth at running back. Jordan Marshall's been incredible. We've seen Kuzdal step up last week and deliver a really impressive performance as well. I think the explosiveness in their run game does take a slight step back with the absence of Justice Haynes. So that's something to be mindful of. Hopefully Marshall, hopefully others can create explosives on the ground, but Haynes being out there would have been really beneficial in a game like this. I do, however, love what I've seen from Andrew Marsh. I mean, he has really become impactful for this team. He's got a ton of juice. He can really break you down. He can get behind you. He can create with the ball in his hands. And he's become a go-to guy in the passing game, and his speed jumps off. When you watch him, I mean, you can really tell that he's playing at a different speed than most of the guys that he's been playing against. And the other thing you got to take into account is that Bryce Underwood, their quarterback, really mobile. And a mobile quarterback can really assist in creating some explosive by making plays off schedule. And that's going to be very difficult to do against Ohio State because they have such great personnel defensively with Reese and with Styles and Caden Curry. And these guys are really athletic and they can really run. And Ohio State's been very successful in defending mobile quarterbacks this year, partly because of just how athletic their front seven is. So Ohio State's goal, I think, in this game will be to keep Bryce Underwood in the pocket and force him to try to diagnose some of the pictures and looks that Matt Patricia's secondary will present. Question number 5, who gets off to a better start in this game? To me, this game is all about the start. It's probably, of all the games in college football this year, this one might put the biggest premium on performance in the first 2 drives for each team. If it's a slugfest early and for whatever reason it's 0-0 at the end of 1, then things could start to get maybe a little tight on the Ohio State sideline. And then if Michigan jumps them, then the crowd will come alive and the Ohio State sideline will be subconsciously thinking, they won't be saying this out loud, but they'll be subconsciously thinking like, oh, here we go again. And then if Ohio State jumps them, I just don't think Michigan's the type that can throw their way back into a game or to erase a significant deficit. So I think the start in this game is of significance for both sides. And I feel like Ohio State's been working towards this game for 4 years. They have tried to go out of their way to develop a more physical, more balanced, more complementary team that peaked in the playoff last year and that has carried over from the start into this season. Yes, there's new faces. Yes, there's a slightly different identity. There are more pathways to victory for this version of Ohio State, but they must dictate the terms of engagement in this game. If they don't, and they fall into Michigan's style game again, then it will be a really close ball game. I don't think they will. Give me the Buckeyes. I'd lay the points in Ann Arbor. I think they're just the vastly superior team.